After completing a game, some players decide that the only thing to do next is to relive the adventure. But these guys decided to take matters into their own hands and make completely new versions of these games, some for fun and some for profit, but all unusually creepy and weird. So today, we're going over 9 of the creepiest video game hacks, bootlegs, and mods. The Lion King 5, Timon and Pumbaa. This video game was released by Dragon Corporations, a Chinese pirate game company. Unlike others on this list, the game is very similar to its original counterpart. The player has to choose between Simba, Timon, or Pumbaa to go on a quest to defeat the boss of each level. The 3 characters each have different qualities to them, like Simba is the balanced character, Timon is slow on land but can swim for the longest, and Pumbaa is the fastest and can ram enemies. Really, the only difference is improved graphics, new levels, and the game over screen. If the player were to lose all their lives, the game over screen would pop up, showing their character committing suicide, albeit in a non-graphic, pixelated way. Timon would bury himself alive, Pumbaa would jump into a pan of boiling hot water, and Simba would hang himself. This game is infamously known for that scene in particular, since most of the time Simba is the popular choice to play as. Another example of a bootleg game with a creepy ending is one known as Felix the Cat. The developer of this game is an unknown Russian company. Since the music and controls are similar to other bootleg games, it can be assumed that whatever this Russian company is, they've made other bootleg games before. The story is the same as the original NES version. However, the game over screen depicts Felix after he has ripped his face apart from his head.
Skyrim. Known as one of the greatest video games of all time, Skyrim has opened itself up to a number of mods throughout its course. One involves adding a whole mess of zombies in replacement of the common Dragar enemy. This mod also adds new aspects to the game, such as sound effects and animations. Zombies can even throw up on the player character. Finally, this mod, which is probably hilarious first, but unintentionally creepy second, replaces all the dragons' faces with renditions of Macho Man Randy Savage. He even sounds like Macho Man Randy Savage when he shouts. A similar mod was done in Fallout 4, turning all of the Deathclaws into, you guessed it, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Earthbound, the Halloween hack. Toby Fox is a music producer and game developer known for creating the popular game Undertale. Before that, most of his early work involved ROM hacks, including an Earthbound one known as the Halloween hack. Ness is completely absent from the story, and it instead stars a character named Varric. After learning about the murder of a girl's parents, our hero sets off to find whoever is responsible. While the game looks like a proper Earthbound game, it is coated with black comedy and an overall darker tone. The dialogue from some of the NPCs would be pretty distasteful. One guy had to stand next to a sign because of his OCD, or else he would kill someone. And this woman talked about snorting mustard and how she had to shank a bitch, if you know what I mean. Hacks.lyros.net described it as the most descriptive, shocking, and most psychologically warping game you will ever play. This game isn't your average Halloween game. Its content is comparable to games like Silent Hill and Yume Nikki. This game also has the added effect of making you depressed as you play. Counting real games and fan games, this could be one of the most traumatic and horrifying games in the world. And we're not joking. This is one of the most disturbing hacks to come out, well, ever, really. Half-Life, They Hunger, Paranoia. The Half-Life series has spawned countless mods, some of which have been made into actual games by Valve. This mod, known as They Hunger, was made in 2001 and was one of the first really popular mods for Half-Life. It's broken into 3 parts, or chapters, focusing on a small American town in the 1950s. You are an author who moves into the new town looking to get inspiration for your new book. The land is then populated with undead zombies, and it's up to you to survive. Every chapter starts with the player being completely stripped of all weapons, forcing him to start from scratch. Resources are scarce. Sometimes there's not even enough bullets to stop all of the swarming undead coming at you. Gameplay is very similar to Half-Life, despite it featuring very little original Half-Life content besides the revolver, some sound clips, and ammunition. Another mod worth mentioning is one called Paranoia. You play as a Russian soldier tasked with neutralizing a terrorist organization. However, a zombie outbreak occurs and wipes out your entire team, forcing you to survive on your own. The atmosphere this game gives off is unsettling and thick with tension, forcing the player to fight his way in abandoned labs and buildings.
Ghosted 2. Ghosted 2 is a mod of the classic game Doom 2 Hell on Earth. It's a sequel to the first mod with improved graphics, textures, and even more ghosts. The gameplay style is heavily inspired by Slender the 8 Pages, as you're placed in an abandoned building, and you have to locate a number of pages while avoiding attacks from ghouls. The game has a nice variety of locations, such as apartments, hospitals, crypts, and archaeological sites, and so on. Not all attacking ghouls are the same. Sometimes it's this hooded creature to look out for, and other times it's a skeleton figure. Interestingly, it is possible to play this game as a multiplayer experience, which can make the whole time a lot more enjoyable and completable.
Pokemon: Escape from Lavender Town. The game was created by a man named Adrian Dittrich, who was inspired by the Lavender Town Syndrome creepypasta. The goal of the game is to escape Lavender Town. You can still move around and talk to the residents. However, you can't walk into the next town or anywhere else. You have to find a different way. Closing the game with the escape key doesn't work as well, since the game will just reopen itself. When it does, the game will be distorted. Colors will change, images will flash on screen, the Lavender Town music will begin to play, and clues for escaping will flash up on screen. The game is said to cause headaches, feelings of depression, and nightmares.
The Legend of Zelda, Nicolas Cage Edition. Based on the already creepy game Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, this hack game features almost all of the faces, masks, items, and sometimes even the randomness of textures as Nicolas Cage, including Link's face and shield. The fairies are Nicolas Cage, some of the characters like the Tingle Fairy and Romani are Nicolas Cage, the sun is Nicolas Cage, and yes, even the moon is Nicolas Cage. There are random posters of Nicolas Cage throughout Clocktown. Tattle and Tail's drawing is that of Nicolas Cage, even the water ripples are Nicolas Cage, and a whole lot more. After months of uncomfortable work, the Nicolas Cage texture pack for Majora's Mask is finally finished, says YouTube user Kryken2, one of the 2 modders behind this game. Why make this, you may ask? I wish I had an answer for you. The truth is, co-modder Shane and I lost the luxury of free will as soon as we began working on this project. We had no goal, only Cage.
Super Mario World: Call of Cthulhu. The Super Mario Bros. Series is one of the most well-known, yet simple games in the history of gaming. As such, many fans have created their own versions and mods of the playful little run and jump adventures of Super Mario Bros. One of the most well-known is called Super Mario World Call of Cthulhu, which is loosely inspired by H.P. Lovecraft's short story, The Call of Cthulhu. This hacked game is pretty short in comparison to its origin, only lasting 6 levels. Visually, however, the game thrives in creativity, redesigning most of the enemies, items, and levels into a beautifully bizarre and sadistic rendition. The game features some new items and enemies, like this floating gray cat, and whatever that bat-looking thing is supposed to be. The new level designs give it a bleak and dystopian tone. Almost everything is at night, and platforms that float randomly throughout the air, and have the oddest shapes too. Sometimes they would even be in complete darkness or in black and white. The game ends with Mario traveling in this bloody reddish level with eyes and purple organs. He then arrives at a tomb where he fights with a malevolent entity who wants to feed Mario to Cthulhu. After Cthulhu awakens, Mario's face is shown, disturbed and mortified. The two then fight, and Mario manages to defeat the Lord of Evil.
Frozen bootlegs. In 2013, Disney released a movie that many people now consider the start of their second Renaissance era, Frozen. For those who don't know, Disney's Renaissance era was a time in the 90s when the Walt Disney Animation Studio was releasing hit after hit after hit film. Every movie was a critical and commercial success. In the 2000s, Disney wasn't doing as well. The movies just weren't as great, and they were facing some fierce competition from the rising DreamWorks Animation Studios. But with Frozen, Big Hero 6, and recently Zootopia, Disney seems to be back on track. So how could the bootleg artists leech off of Disney's success? Well, there's Elsa's Frozen Brain Surgery, a game that lets you cut through Elsa's bald head and cut out rocks and accessories. Next is Elsa's Toilet Decoration, which lets you do exactly what it sounds like. Spank Elsa Butt, which I'm not even gonna show. Elsa's Throat Doctor, Elsa's Throat Surgery, Elsa and Anna Vampire Resurrection, and probably worst of all, Frozen Anna Give Birth a Baby.